The decision to pack up and leave diaspora, possibly for good, is very intense. It takes a lot to move from Africa into whichever place the diaspora is for you to survive and to thrive over multiple years. And to just give it up all in the end is really no mean feat. I've spent almost 2 decades living in the US. It cost me thousands of dollars and multiple years just to become a US citizen. I've virtually invested all of my adult life in this country. I've developed all kinds of relations, I've had kids, and so much more. So simply walking away from all that is not a small thing. And I'm not alone in this. So in this video, I want to share with you how people that I talk to, most diasporans that I talk to who have moved back home or who are in the process of moving back home, how these folks got to the place where they decided it was time to begin preparing for the eventual return. Now, for most of us, this decision to leave and the process of it evolves over a period of time, sometimes years. And for some people, it's a matter of a light bulb moment. Something happens that really flips the switch on them. They're like, hey, I better start getting ready to leave. And so some of us describe wrestling with these kinds of thoughts, more like sort of like mental fire drill, wherein a person asks several questions. For instance, people ask, can I actually leave? Even though I want to, but can I actually do it? And if I am to leave, how would I do it? And what would be the indicators that I'm ready to leave? But before we unpack all of that, welcome to Kisumu, my friends. If you're joining us in this channel for the first time, we are in Kisumu, which is my hometown. I live in Karateng, which is a part of Kisumu, about 20 minutes from CBD. We film everywhere. Sometimes we're in Kisumu, sometimes we are in other parts of Kenya, but we go back and forth between Kisumu, Karateng, and Long Beach, California. And I'm very passionate about helping people come back to the village. Not just Africans or even not just people living in diaspora. I'm also helping people who live in cities like Nairobi who desire to create an amazing life in the village. And in the process, I'm very much involved with things to do with construction. And so if you're interested, you want to be connected with builders, architects, and things like that, reach out and I'll be happy to advise and connect as necessary. So today, as you can tell from this video, we are visiting another really serene and exclusive joint right by the shores of Lake Lolwe. Now, this is a place that I think you should visit. I don't know enough about their food, but I know the environment really looks cool. So I want you to join me as we check it out. We're just going to walk around, take a look, and that'll be it for the afternoon. We already ate somewhere. In fact, we went to one of these fish joints, almost like a kibandaski. And one funny thing with Kisumu is that sometimes when you're really hungry and you need to eat right away, you probably want to go to a kibandaski. They will serve you on the spot. Some of these exclusive joints, maybe not necessarily this one, you can sit there for a much longer time before you're served. But anyway, we just decided to come check it out, walk around and see what they have. I think it's really beautiful. So again, if you were to ask me, personally, I would say now I'm in full-blown living mode. You see me filming every day in different parts of Kenya. However, the truth is, this process of moving back is not always as easy as sometimes we make it sound. And I want to be totally honest with you on that. So here's some of the indicators that I hear from folks, indicators that got people to begin really taking serious steps to move back home. Many diasporans think about moving back. And when I say diasporans, I mean every person who traces their origin to Africa. I'm talking about people who are born in Africa, people who are born in America and other places. Many of them harbor this dream of coming back. But oftentimes it takes specific instances to get folks to think seriously about making that journey. So I'm going to give you how some people got there. So I talked to a young man who told me that the one thing that really changed his mind is that, and I'm going to paraphrase, he said, I could not stop thinking about work uh, enough to relax while at home. And I was unable to sleep at night because of the anxiety surrounding my job. He went on and said that I also felt miserable driving to work. And all I could do was to count down the hours waiting till work. And this was not just an isolated experience with one particular job. He had it over and over again, working for different people in America. Again, in some spaces, the work environment in America can come with quite a bit of anxiety. And for me, one of the biggest challenges I have is the struggle between having a work and life balance. In part because people in America, the idea of separating work from personal life is not as easy as some of us experience while we're in Kenya. In addition, I tell people that when I go to work, I don't go to work to make friends. If that happens, well and good, but I don't go to work to make friends. But Americans like mixing the two, sometimes with disastrous outcomes. And so when working for Americans becomes such a pain, almost no matter what employer you switch, you work for, then maybe you want to think about something other than America, or something other than Europe, or something other than living in diaspora wherever you live. And so the second person I talked to told me that I decided to leave when I realized I'd rather literally do anything anywhere. When you realize that you just want to find an excuse to be outside America, to the point where you're willing to give up the comforts that come with living in the Western world, then you realize maybe it's time to begin preparing for that journey. The third person told me that at some point when he realized that he doesn't have any real connections, the networks in the same way that he did when he first moved, because friendships evolve. People change, and sometimes you notice that, like for me, sometimes I realize that I've not talked to some of my American friends for a long time, and it doesn't even cross my mind. When you begin disengaging from your networks in the West, in fact, sometimes it often feels like visiting people becomes even a chore. But that completely disappears when I'm in Kenya. In Kenya, I'm looking forward to visit people. When I come back to America, I feel like I need to work extra hard to go see people. And the joy that I used to draw in my social life in the West is almost gone. So that can be an indicator that maybe it's time to begin preparing for that journey back. Somebody also told me that I knew it was time to leave when it felt like I was not making any impact. And so when you look back at what you've done, you spent like 20, 30 years and you don't seem to have achieved much. And then you look at your peers in Kenya and people are doing so well. Some people are really thriving. Then you're like, maybe if I was out of diaspora, I might be doing as well as my friends. The next one is when you realize that, and this is a big problem with American employers, when your supervisors and work colleagues begin contacting you, even when you're on vacation. I remember one time I'm sitting in my sister's funeral, and one of my junior colleagues is actually texting me about work stuff while in the middle of my sister's funeral. I was like, this is crazy. Because Americans in vacation is one thing. People just work round the clock. The idea of paid leave, some people don't even have paid sick days or paid leave. And when you want to go home for a month, to them, that's like unbelievable. Like, what do you mean you're going home for a month? What are you going to do the entire time? In Kisumu, we literally shut down the entire town for lunch. We just go for lunch. Most shops are closed. Not most, but a lot of shops are closed. And I love it. And then some people talk about when they realized they always had so much anger, anxiety, and dread and all that. But as soon as they land at home, all of that disappears. It's like something about the environment in diaspora makes it really difficult for people to thrive in that sense. And especially when you realize that when you leave the country, you're really excited. But when it's time to return, as I've said in the past, it feels like you're going back to boarding school. Then you realize maybe it's time to begin shifting things. So the last story I'm going to tell you is a young couple that just moved out of the US to Western Europe. So here's what he said. I knew it was time several years ago when my wife had a stroke in her 20s. And then the initial bill was $1.2 million. And the insurance paid part of it, but a good bit of it was not paid, which sunk them into bankruptcy. And their lives were miserable for years. So, illness is one of the top reasons why people go bankrupt in America in ways that you would hardly see in many parts of Europe. Now, I know in Kenya we have our own issues, yes, but medical bills in America are something else, especially if you don't have good health insurance. And so, after going through bankruptcy, this couple went through real hell. And so, for him, his wife was actually a Dutch American. After a while, they decided to move to the Netherlands, and life could have not become any better. Life has been so different in terms of the social safety nets. Because even when the wife needed social security benefit because she couldn't work, it was such a nightmare. Because again, typically people don't expect a 20-something-year-old to get a stroke, but it can happen. And so they had such a horrible experience out of just one medical condition that they were like, this is time to leave. Oh, well, I hope you learned something today again, and I will see you in the next. Thank you.